welcome to this week's demo. Welcome friends, thanks for coming out for demo today. So today I wanted to talk about boxes, and I've made boxes at demo before, and if you know how to do a basic box, then some of these ideas are not going to be a surprise, but I wanted to just share a few different ideas for making boxes that maybe you hadn't thought about yet or haven't considered. So the material that I like to use for box making is this stuff. Oops. All my stacks of things on top of each other down here. All right, so is this lightweight chipboard. It kind of looks like cereal box weight, so it's like not a really heavy chipboard. It's kind of like a medium-sized chipboard. So depending on what size of box you want to do, will determine how you cut your paper down to size. So for my first idea, I wanted to just do a box that has an acetate on top on it, so you can actually see through the box, so you can see what's inside. So let's say I want my box to be 4 inches by 4 inches. What I'm going to want to do is I want to give myself an inch on all 4 sides for my box. So we're going to do 6 inches by 6 inches, and that will be for the bottom of the box. And then for the top of the box, you want it to be just a little bit bigger. So it's going to be 1/6 and 1/8 by 1/6 and 1/8. Okay, so that gives you just a little bit of space for the top of the box to fit on the bottom of the box. Okay, now because I want to have a cutout on the inside here, I'm going to grab my die cut machine, which I just realized is over here. Jay, can you hand me my book of large die, of my nesting die cuts, please? There you go. Makes it a little easier to actually use a die cut to cut out a circle rather than try and eyeball it. That doesn't sound fun. All right, so I'm just going to grab my die cut book here. And I'm going to grab out some circles. I'm going to do a circle on the front. What kind of shape you want. And I want to make sure that this is going to fit. You can see what size my circle is here. Oh, that's just a little bit too big, so maybe box to be 4 inches. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Okay, here we go. So I have a circle that is just shy of 4 inches, about 3 3/4 inches. So for the top of my box, so the piece that's a little bit larger, we're going to cut out in the middle, we're going to cut out our circle. And you can use a little bit of washi tape to hold that in place. We're just going to lay that on. We're going to find the center here, stick on our washi tape.
That always helps. I have to have washi tape.
Yeah, sometimes I can line it up and it works great, but you're right. Other times, especially if you need it to land in a very specific spot, having just a bit of washi tape does help. Yep. I actually it might have made more sense for me to score this first, but I'm just going to do this like this and we'll see what happens. Okay. So then I'm just going to run it through my die cut. Cut that circle out. All right. Okay, now I'm going to get out my scoreboard. And I'm going to score both pieces now 1 inch on all 4 sides. And that will bring us down to our 4 inches for our box size. And amazingly, you can score this thicker, kind of lightweight cardstock. It does actually surprisingly score pretty well. Just have just press a little harder than you normally would. And for not measuring, my circle isn't perfect, but it's not too bad. All right, so now once you've scored all 4 sides there, so you end up with, I don't know if you guys can see it up there, but my score marks are on all 4 sides. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut little tabs. So I'm just going to cut here and here, and here and here. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side, on the top there. Just making little slice marks. And the scoring lines there are giving you the guide of how far to cut up to. And then you just fold these all down and fold these down this way. Oops. We're going to emphasize all of our folds here. And then you can use tape or glue, or if you happen to have hot glue, that works great. Let's see if my hot glue gun is heated up enough here. me to use hot glue. I really prefer to use hot glue because it's going to bond very, very well to the lightweight chipboard, and also it's not going to come apart over time. Obviously, you can use like a PVA, and that also works great, but I'm an immediate satisfaction kind of a person, and I love hot glue, so I'm going to use hot glue. I know, when I first started working in this industry, I remember everyone was like, we don't really use hot glue, and I was like, I use hot glue, and I use it a lot, just because it's a quick adherence, so, and it's not going to fall apart. Sometimes when you're using double-sided tape, which I have used in the past for making boxes, what happens is that the pressure of the box trying to pull on itself eventually does pull that tape away because the tape isn't permanent, especially if your tape hasn't had an opportunity to cure yet. Like the ATG, the tape I used, the pink one, this stuff, does work great, but in the first 24 hours, you have the opportunity to peel away the tape if you've messed up. And so by giving yourself 24 hours, then it will be fully adhered. But on a box, it just doesn't really make sense. So I decided that glue was the way to go this time. Okay, so we're just gonna fold our little tabs in again on this side. And the tabs, in case you guys didn't see this, I'm hiding the tabs. I'm not putting them on the outside, I'm just putting them on the inside. And that makes it just look a little bit more clean and a little bit more finished. Boop. And I'll just tuck that right in there. All right, I'll put that over. So again, this is just going to be kind of a really easy, very, very basic box, but it's still very fun. And we're going to decorate it here in a minute, so it's not so boring. I mean, it's just a plain old brown box. We're going to make it at least somewhat exciting. Okay, so before I put my acetate in, you can at least see that this top on here will fit perfectly on the bottom. Yay! So, perfect little thin box. Okay, I guess actually technically you could put tissue paper and have things sitting up or frame something out. That might actually be kind of cute if you don't want to put a piece of acetate, but I want to have the acetate. So I'm going to grab a piece of acetate. There's this little film on the back side to keep it protected. So because this dimension here is 4 inches by 4 inches, my piece of acetate needs to be slightly smaller so that it actually will fit and cover up that entire hole. So I'm going to say 4 inches minus a 1/16 of an inch. So just a sliver smaller than 4 inches is what we're doing here. And that way, because if you see here, you really only have, again, my circle isn't in the middle, but you don't really have a whole lot of a lip here to put the acetate on, which is why you really need it to be as close to the same size as the top of the box as possible without it actually being, you don't want to see the edge in the middle of your box. This is not going to look complete. Okay? All right. And then, although I love hot glue, you just heard me say, I don't recommend using hot glue for adhering this part of the box or adhering the acetate to the inside of the box. So I'm actually just going to use some double-sided tape. I'm going to stick that down. And I'm going to get as close to the edge as I possibly can. Oh, I see I cut myself 2 pieces, probably because in case I mess up. Okay, I'm just going to peel back my double-sided tape here just to make sure it's not going to be seen. That's, again, the benefit from using this tape, the ATG. I can move the tape out of the way if needed. All right, so I'm just going to stick it on. In case you're wondering what I'm doing here, I'm just moving my tape out of the way because I can do that. I want to be seen there. My top and bottom is because my circle isn't in the perfect middle there. And you can use an adhesive eraser to pull off any extra double-sided tape you might see. But now you have the top of the box and it's kind of glossy, so you can see inside your box. And then, tape I can see there, it's bothering me. All right, so now I'm going to get my blending brushes, these guys. And I have 4 different ones here, just different colors of ink. And then I'm going to do these. Now this idea actually came to me because I was inspired from when we did the demo with the books, and then I did the spray oxide inks. So I showed them to another customer, and then she went home and she made a book just like that just yesterday, last night. She was having so much fun. She was inspired. So thanks for pushing me to fill out the full demo that day and come up with another idea. Yeah, no, that worked out great. But then she didn't have any spray oxide inks, so she used her blending brushes and she did a splatter, and the effect was really cool. So I'm just going to do that with you guys today. So basically what we're going to do here on my box, I'm going to do this on the bottom, on the back side, and then also on the top here. Because this is acetate, I can just wash that off. if it does get any ink on it. So I'm just going to kind of blend my colors down. And the oxide inks show up beautifully on the craft paper. It's really, really nice color here. And I'm just going to color the entire box as best I can with the color. I'm not going to do the same color on all parts of the box, but I want there to be color everywhere. So we have, that was Lucky Clover Distress Oxide. And then we're going to do Peacock Feathers. And I decided to kind of do things a little bit more in the cooler tones, but then I wanted to pop a pink because I just thought that color was great. So I'm just going to do some more blue down here, and on the sides up here. And the oxide inks, what's really cool is that you're not, even if you add a little bit of splatter, it's not going to create really gross mud or anything. Your colors are still going to really retain their vibrancy. They're going to be really beautiful. Okay, and then we're going to go into purple next. Oh, that was Peacock Feathers. And now we're doing Wilted Violet. It really is beautiful purple. I'm just going to leave a little bit of my area exposed just so that I can put one more color of that pink in there. Okay, I'm going to do this guy here. Again, I know I'm getting some on my acetate here, but I'm going to clean that off in just a second. Yeah, it's totally different. Completely changing the effect of the box. All right, and then the last color, it's actually kind of almost galaxy kind of looking. And then the last color I'm going to do is Worn Lipstick. And you might see that I'm using a variety of different kinds of blending brushes here. I'm the kind of person that whenever I see blending brushes and I see a good price on them, I just snag them up because they're always so nice to have. Yes. Because they're really soft and they're really great for applying just a little bit of ink. And it's just a nice, beautiful blend.
You're even dedicated to the colors on that?
I did. On my brushes, I do. Because I use these so often, I almost always have a color on a brush. And so then I can say, oh, what color's on here? Oh, yeah, a shade of blue. That, I'll use that. So I might have used that, or the green I might have used with like a rustic wilderness color. But I just pick up the colors and just, because it's oxide ink, as long as you kind of brush off most of the color, it's not going to transfer onto your other ink pads, especially if it's in the same color family. All right. Okay, so we have this kind of cool kind of mottled effect that's happening here. For those that want to see just a little bit closer, you can kind of see how that looks there. And I'm just going to clean this off really fast with my paper towel. Yeah, Worn Lipstick was the last color there.
You want to change things with me? No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Oh,
it's okay. I've got all my gear here. And I can sit
okay, and I'm just going to wipe this off here. And you can use a little stamp cleaner if you want to, but I don't want this to get wet right now, just because I really want to make sure that I can still get the splatter effect I'm going for. And I will be able to, there will be a little bit of water on here when I do the splatter, but not very much. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to squirt out some of this water here for my water brush. Well, apparently it was a little bit blue as the color I was painting with last, but that's fine. I'm just going to do a splatter on here. And what's going to happen is it's going to displace the background and kind of create like a cool kind of splattered effect that has a similar idea as what we did with the spray oxide inks, but not as much spraying and a lot more color with a little bit of a splatter effect around the sides. So you get kind of that artistic look without it being too messy, because with spray inks, oftentimes you spray them, they kind of go everywhere, so you have to use them in a box just to make sure that they're not going to just kind of go all over.
I didn't think of using a little water pen, but
yeah, just a little water brush, because what we're doing here is we're just adding a little bit of water to that, and because the oxide inks are not waterproof, they are actually, the splatter effect, you can actually see the texture in the ink that's already down. And so I'm just going to apply a little bit on my sides here because I like that look. Oh, this is the inside of my box, so of course I'm not going to see that as much. But that's okay. Well, that should stand up. That's better. All right, 1, 2, 3, and the last one there. Okay, all right. So now, when we look at that, you can see the splatter effect around the outside, which is really, really cool. It just makes it look a lot more interesting, and it's actually just really fun. And it's not as basic as just blended color. It's far more exciting than just basic colors now. And since it's a little bit wet there, I'm actually able to kind of clean up my piece of acetate there. So, all right, and then you can use stamp cleaner if you wanted to really clean that up. But I thought that was a pretty fun little idea. So there is the first one. And you could put like tissue paper in there to pull out certain colors. And I think that would also look really, really fun. So there's box number 1. Look at that. All right. So now on to my next idea. Okay, so once again, we're going to kind of do a similar kind of idea. So let's say that we want to do, let's pick a different size box here. Since I have some smaller pieces here. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit larger here. All right, so let's say I want to do a 5-inch by 5-inch box. We're going to make that 7 inches by 7 inches. Right, and we're going to do a lot of the same kind of stuff to get to that point. So, I already messed up. So we'll need to make the 6.5 by 6.5. Oh gosh, let me think about this. Because I didn't do, I guess I am going to do this. So we're going to do 7 by 7, because I already cut that to be 7 by 7. So this other one will be the bottom of the box. We'll do 7 minus an 1/8, and we'll do 7 minus an 1/8. So our box will be just a touch smaller than 5 inches by 5 inches. Okay, so now we have our 2 pieces. All right, so this time I am going to score it ahead of time so I can make sure I know where the actual top of the box will be. So I want my box to be just 1 inch in height again. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to do 1 inch on all 4 sides again. But this time, I want to make the top of my box a little bit more interesting. All right. So my score lines are going to act as a guide for me for decorating my box. And I'm going to do this on the top one. So I'm going to do this on the larger size, not the smaller size. And I'm just going to get out my pens and just start having fun. I'm just going to do a little drawing, I think. Oh, is this the one that I want to do right now? I think it is, yes. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to get out my pens and I'm just going to start just kind of drawing and just kind of having fun. I'm going to draw like some little leaves and things, I think. Really, really kind of easy. You could also do, you could take a die cut and lay it on and then cut around it. That would be another idea to kind of accomplish the same, similar kind of a task or a similar kind of a look. I'm just going to kind of do some little swirls and things here. And I'll bring us another leaf down here. Whoops. Maybe not the prettiest leaf, but accomplish the effect I'm going for here. All right. Then I'm just going to take a little bit of green ink here and just kind of add a touch of color, make it look a little bit more interesting. Oh. Get one that actually has water in it. There we go. Just add a little bit of color in here. This ink moves with water, which makes it nice for just kind of getting a tone-on-tone effect. So it's not going to completely cover up the marker because the marker was much more concentrated there. But just kind of making those look a little bit more solid color. And they won't be as dark once they dry. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to get out my cutting mat. Oh, it's here somewhere. This guy. And I'm going to get out my X-Acto knife and my ruler here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I don't want to cut directly on top of the line because that's the edge of the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to come in, let's say about 1/4 of an inch. And I'm not going to cut out, I don't want to cut into my drawing here, but I do want to make the edge of the box nice and crisp. So I think I'm going to start from right here. I'm going to cut this down. And then right here, I'm actually just going to cut around this. I'm actually using my X-Acto knife to actually cut around my leaves here. Now we'll bring this in. And I'm giving it just a little bit of a halo around my leaves just to give it a little bit more separation there. And then we'll kind of put up here and around here like this. And I'll use this guy here to give me a straight line here. And we'll do the same thing up here. Whoops. All the way down. And we'll cut here. And we're just going to slowly cut this out. And it doesn't need to be perfect because we can make it look artistic if we mess up. And I've done that before too. If it doesn't go the way I want, I can just say, oh, it's artistic and we're going to do something different. But we'll see how this goes. Okay, so we're just cutting out all of this negative space area here, or the best that we possibly can. Okay. And bring this down here. Here. I'm going to bring this up to this part right here. All right. Now, making sure all of my cut marks are connected here, should be able to just remove that. Oh, didn't get a full cut there. There we go. And that piece there. So you kind of get an interesting kind of a cutout, which I actually really, really love. And then, just like we did before, we're going to put acetate on the back side here. So this time, when I lay down my double-sided tape, I'm actually going to lay it on the box itself. That way I can get up right up to the edge, right up next to the edge of the score line there. And then that way I can fold any tape that might be exposed on a piece of acetate and actually kind of roll that in and roll that to that side. So then that way your tape you don't want to see any tape when you hold it up. You don't see any tape there. Okay, now I'm going to cut down my piece of acetate again. Okay, and my box is just shy of 5 inches. So I need to be just shy with my piece of acetate. So I'm going to do 4 7/8 by 4 7/8. And that should be perfect if I did my math right. Let's cross our fingers and hope it works out. Sometimes my ideas do not go well, but sometimes they go great. I guess that's just how life goes sometimes. All right, there we go. That matches up perfectly. Wonderful. And now we're going to put our box together. But I love that. I think that looks really nice. So we're just going to fold these up. And we'll do the same thing here. Fold these in. Right on our little fold score line there. And this guy here. And our scissors. And we'll just create our little tabs just like before.
You found your little scissors.
Yes, I did find my little scissors. Last week I couldn't find them anywhere. So then when I came in on Thursday of last week, they were in the drawer up at the front counter, and I asked Jay. I said, "Oh, you found my scissors?" And Jay said, "Yeah, they were with your demo stuff. I thought you found them." And I was like, "You got to be kidding me! They were sitting right on this rack the whole time." Oh my gosh, I was so embarrassed. I was like, I was searching everywhere for those. I couldn't believe it. So, all right, now I'm putting my little tabs together here. Working quickly because the hot glue will dry very, very quickly. Oh, that's the heater coming on. Just as we're getting chilly, the heater says, "Oh, yeah, we know. My dear, you probably are going to be the line of the heater, so just be aware of that in case you get a little warm all of a sudden." It does feel good. Yeah, we have just one large heater here, but it does the thing. And then in the summertime, it gets so hot. We have like 5 fans on going all the time. It's just an older building, so there isn't AC here. All right, so now we're just going to bring that tab in, and this guy here on the other side. So the key for making a top and bottom of the box is that you want one side to be just a little bit shorter on 2 sides, like 1/8 of an inch shorter on 2 sides. That way your top of your box and the bottom of your box are actually going to stick together, because if one isn't larger than the other, then this technique isn't going to work. But isn't that fun? I just thought that was kind of cute. So, but yeah, just a little fun little idea. Again, you can put colored tissue paper in there, or a handmade paper, or maybe you have a piece of like some chocolates or something. I thought that was just kind of a cute little idea. So that was a fun one. All right, on to the next video. Okay. I did do it quickly. Just got it done. Just got it done. Okay, so now I'm going to work with just some 80-pound black cardstock here, and I'm going to actually work with 2 pieces. But let's just say I wanted to make a box that was this big, which would be so much fun. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to leave this one at 8.5 by 11. I'm just going to confirm that this is 8.5 by 11, because so often with 8.5 by 11 papers, you actually end up with pieces that tend to be just a tiny bit longer, a tiny bit larger. And so if you have two pieces that you want to be 8.5 by 11, you're going to want to make sure that you trim off any excess. So then the next one, I'm going to do just shy, 1/8 of an inch smaller on two sides. So we have, 8.5 minus 1/8 and 11 inches minus 1/8. Okay? And I want my box to be a little bit taller now. So this time, we are going to make this box, I'm going to do, I think, 2 inches in height. So we're going to do the 2-inch score lines on all 4 sides for both of these, top and bottom. 2 inches and 2 inches. Whoops. There we go. Perfect. And bring it in, fold it up. Set our tabs like we normally do. This way. All right, and we get our scissors. And we're just going to trim our little tabs here. It doesn't really matter which direction you cut your little tab, as long as you're hiding the tab and it's not going to be taped on the outside. You want those to be hidden on the inside. Oh, and I'm doing this one apparently opposite, but again, as long as you're hiding the tab, it doesn't really matter. 2, 3, and 4. And because this is a thinner paper, I could use hot glue or I could use just the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. Now the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, when you're making your box, you're going to want to hold it just a little bit longer because the glue is not going to dry as fast as the hot glue, but it will still dry fairly quickly. So I'm just going to press that down. Oh yeah, paper clips would also help, absolutely. What's so nice about the Nuvo adhesive though is that it does dry so fast. Not as fast as hot glue, but I mean already that's already pretty fairly secure, which is pretty impressive for glue, because so often glue, it stays wet longer, and then that way you have a little bit more time to work with it, but then if you get it in the wrong spot, then trying to pull it up can be a pain. But yeah, this is such an amazing glue. You do have a couple seconds just to work with it before it does completely dry. But again, it's just a really nice product. Okay, so we're going to do that and that. All right, so there's one side. Go to the edge of my paper there for my little tabs. And this guy here. And something on this side. And all right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my oxide inks again, and I think I'm going to work with the worn lipstick color. So I'm going to lay down some color. Oh, let me find my top and bottom here. Oh, that's the bottom of the box. There we go. All right, so I want to kind of do some stuff in the corners here. So I'm really going to kind of try and focus on the corners mostly. All right, this guy here and this one here. And then because I want this to kind of create a focal point, I'm also going to kind of do this on the corner down here to kind of draw your eye to that corner. So putting that ink on all 3 sides of that corner there. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to use my Nuvo Crystal Drops. So I think I'm going to add just a bit more color because I like color a lot. So I decided I'm going to add some purple in here too because I love that purple. Oh, it's beautiful. Really nice color there. Okay, all right. That's kind of hard to see, friends, but okay. Now, I'm going to bring up my Nuvo Crystal Drops. It should be here somewhere. There we go. All right. So now I'm just basically going to doodle and draw with my crystal drops here to kind of create kind of a fun kind of a box. And so what's kind of happening here is that you'll be able to kind of see the shadow on top of that oxide background, but then you can really kind of just have freedom and just kind of doodle to your heart's desire. But because this is kind of a black on black technique, you kind of get that really beautiful kind of tone on tone of the background black, which looks a little bit more charcoal compared to the really nice glossy black of our Nuvo drops here. And then I'm just going to do some little dots just because I love dots. And it just makes it look a little bit more complete. So dot groupings is what I refer to these, which is a large dot and a couple little dots. And again, it just kind of makes it look like more full and more fun, and there's like more going on here. And I'm just going to bring this to the edge here, and do a little dot there, and this guy here, and put that there. But kind of giving you an opportunity to not make a really complicated box, but kind of do that really cool kind of black on black technique, which is something that, again, I really, really enjoy. So just be very careful when you're touching that, because I want to make sure it doesn't get wet. Okay, so now for my next idea, I want to play around with some embossing powder because I love embossing powder so much. Okay, so before I do that though, I'm actually going to go ahead and stamp an image. And I'm going to use my VersaFine Clear ink, and I'm going to use this beautiful sunflower image. This one is new from Altamira. It's a really gorgeous stamp. And honestly, this time of year, although it is technically a sunflower, you could stamp it and color it whatever you'd like, and then it can be whatever flower you want. But I just thought it was just such a beautiful image. So I'm going to set that here on my stamp platform here. And I think in order to do this, you're going to lay this in here. I think I want my flower to kind of come in like this. And I'm just going to go ahead and pick that up. Have you guys been watching any of the stuff that's come from Creativation this week? So I don't know if you saw, so Creativation is the big conference that happens. I don't remember where it happens, but like Tim Holtz goes, and like Deanna Reevely, and like Altenew, like a bunch of companies all get together, and they just kind of have a bunch of ideas to inspire you about and talk about the things they're coming out with this year. Altenew has come out with a new stamp platform called the Stamp Wheel. It is amazing. It is rather large, but it's very cool. I just saw a video on it this morning. The president from Altenew, she was demonstrating it, and it's much like this, except it goes in all 4 different directions. Same kind of ideas like the pegs, but there's no pegs on the board. It's just a large wheel that you can turn and line up, and it's really, really cool. So I'm really excited to play with that when it becomes available to me. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp down my sunflower here. And then I'm going to use my embossing powder. And I think I'm going to go with this silver embossing powder that I have out at the moment. Sorry, my space is not as organized. I know that there's all these amazing videos online. People are so beautifully organized. I hate to break it to you guys, but that is not me. I mean, I love organization, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to creating, I am a create in the moment kind of a person. I'm like, oh, now we're going to do this, now we're going to do this. Let's throw this pile of stuff to the side. So I'm sure that the people in my life get a little like, oh, Ellie, but you know, I can't focus on organizing when I'm in the moment of creativity. I'm too busy. All right, so I'm putting on my silver embossing powder here. Okay. Oh, part of that didn't emboss very nicely, but that's okay. All right, I'm just going to heat set this. So I want to get my embossing powder down there. Thank you very much. It should be good, but you're right, I don't want to risk it and emboss my whole tray there. Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, so we're just going to heat set this here. I love how beautiful and vibrant that silver embossing powder is on the black, which is absolutely stunning. And it looks really, really beautiful. That is called, that stamp says called Blossom and Bloom. And that embossing powder is the sterling silver embossing powder. All right, I'll take my tray back. Thank you very much for helping with that. Okay, so now I'm going to just do a smaller box here. Oh, set the size this way. Everything. Okay, so I'm going to take this
I used to square dance, and that orange there, I had a dress that same color.
Isn't it so beautiful? Yeah. I know. I love this skirt. It's so much fun. Yes, it's also one of my favorites. Makes me very happy. So I'm
My
kind of.
daughter had a matching dress. My husband had a matching shirt.
Oh, so fun.
You can all tell who we belong to.
Yeah, well see, and I never did square dancing, but because I love the petticoats so much, I'm always wearing them, and so people who are square dancers will oftentimes say, "Oh, do you square dance?"
Yeah.
Actually, one gal, she was like, "Do you square?" And I was like, "Oh, I love that," and I was like, "No, I don't," but thank you for asking me. I thought that was really sweet. It just kind of filled my heart with joy. It's like, oh, do I square? No, I don't, but maybe one day. Okay. So I'm cutting these I'm going to use just half sheets of paper here. This is 5.5 inch, 5.5 by 8.5. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and just like I did before, I'm just going to score it. And I'm going to do where's my scoring tool here? Underneath something. Let's see. Here. Oh, found it. I knew it was here somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this. All right, I'm going to go ahead and score this on all 4 sides here. Whoops. I was working with much heavier paper, so I pressed just a touch too hard there. And I just scored right across the embossing powder there. Because I want that to wrap around the edge.
And this is 1 inch?
1 inch, yes. And then I'm going to actually grab my metallic water brush here. This is one that has some Midas Touch watercolor in here. Jay, can you bring me the metallic watercolor set that's up there? So this is going to be it's like kind of a gold metallic. It's absolutely beautiful. And so I want this to kind of be a gold and silver kind of a theme here. So I'm just going to kind of do a splatter. Ah, yay, thank you. So I'm going to just do some gold here down here first because the gold is what's already in the pen. All over. And then I'm going to grab my other water brush that does not have metallic in it because I don't want to cross-transfer metallics. And I'm going to find one in here that's kind of in the silvery color, this guy here. Oops, we got a little bit blue. That will work. Make this nice and watery. The more watery it is, the larger splatter you're going to get. The less watery, the smaller splatter. And these are really nice and vibrant metallic watercolors here. This is new, but it has a lot of color in it. I'm just going to lay this down here.
Yeah, I bought that set. I haven't.
It's really fun to play with. I've been really enjoying it. I just love how rainbowy the colors are. Ah, all the colors, so fun.
I usually start out by making a color chart.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Just haven't
That's
gotten to it
perfect.
yet.
Oh, yeah, not a problem. It's not required.
I've been putting little flower pieces together.
Yes, that's right. All your flowers. Yes. So I want to paint my sunflower here, kind of in my yellow tone. So I'm just going to kind of use my metallic watercolor here to paint my yellow sunflower, and this is going to pull in with the gold over here. This gold is a little bit more translucent, and so although it's very glittery, you're really not going to get that really nice kind of yellowy gold that we have over here. So I wanted to add in some of that really nice metallic just to kind of add some interest.
Paint has glitter.
The paint does not have glitter in it. This pen, the Midas Touch pen, I still had some ink over here, so I picked it up a little bit just to add it into my sunflower because I just really love that color. I just think it's really, really beautiful, and it's very glittery. But you can see that it's still translucent, where these are not going to be translucent. These are going to definitely be a little bit more opaque here. So I'm just going to add in a little bit more color. That does not look like a sunflower. That looks more like a cherry blossom to me, but that's okay. And then we'll add in some green. Again, just kind of making this look a little bit more interesting here. And by doing our scoring here, this really kind of tells me what I really need to focus on for painting. I don't really need to focus so much on the edges. Excuse me, just ate some food a little bit ago. Sorry, burping right in the middle of my conversation. But I'm going to mostly be focusing on coloring my greens right here on the top. And I don't really care as much of what's wrapping around the edges. And what's nice about the silver embossing powder is it's still going to frame it out. So even if my coloring isn't perfect, which it isn't, it still looks really fun. And you can really still see the sides here. I'm going to add just a touch of green splatter into this just to bring that color in. And we're going to do the back side too. All right. And now it's time to put our box together. All right. So I took all of my bits and pieces. Don't forget my scoring tool in case I need it again. And I'm going to take my heat gun and just dry this really fast. Since I can still see that it's quite wet here. Got the splatter coming off on anything. Alright, and then I'm going to just dry this side too. Okay. right, so now I'm gonna just take my scissors, these guys here, and make my little tabs like I've done in the past. Bring that guy down, this guy here, and this one here, and same thing for this guy. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Now, I am going to actually use hot glue this time, and the reason why is because I do have a little bit of heat embossing over here, and I just don't know that the Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive is going to adhere as nicely to that area with the embossing on it. So I'm just going to use a very thin amount and work very quickly when using my hot glue, because I don't want it to be too bulky because the paper is only 80 pounds, but I really want it to actually get a really nice full adherence, and I want it to stay. I don't want it to come up, you know, in a month or whatever. All right, and the last little tab here. Oops. Put that there. That will do the bottom of the box. And then the top here. We'll do same here and here. This guy here. All right. And here. And then this one is the one that's going to be a little bit tricky because of the embossing powder, but it stuck no problem. And then the last guy would be this one. So this would be really cute also, especially when your box is done, if you wanted to tie a little ribbon on the top, just to kind of frame that out. But I just thought that was so pretty. Oh, I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. It's so
Laying down,
striking.
It was hard to kill.
Yeah, what was that?
When it was laying down.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to tell because you can't really see it, but
Yeah.
when you're looking at it straight on, the
Yes.
metallic on there is just absolutely stunning. And I love the silver embossing powder with that. I'm actually really happy with that. I never know how it's going to go, so I'm very pleased that that worked out. All right, here we are.
You did 5 boxes.
Yay.
That was just.
Yes, well, hey, 4 boxes is still pretty good. So, all right. Well, anyways, thank you guys for coming to my demo today. And thanks for hanging out while I played around, but then didn't accomplish what I thought I would do. You just never know. You never know. All right, thanks, friends. We'll see you later.